Okay, there's gonna be a setup video of the Pit Boss vertical smoker. This is the Series 4 Pro Series 2 vertical pellet smoker. I think it's sold through Lowe's exclusively. Picked it up last night. It fit in the back of the van, so you don't have to have a truck, but your seats do need to lay down. Okay, well, that was good to get the thing outside of the styrofoam. Now it's upside down, and the instructions say to pull the door off first, so now I gotta lay it back down and pull everything out. The crossbar and support pieces were also inside of that styrofoam, so I'll set those aside. Okay, so to take the door off, you gotta push up on it, so that direction's vertical, and so just kind of light hand tapping will separate that hinge, and you just slide it back out to take the door off. And all the stuff, all the other legs and everything associated with setting it up are all packed on the inside. Instructions: make sure you set it down on cardboard or something underneath to support it so you don't scratch the top, because that's the top. You assemble this thing upside down at first to get the legs on, which will mount over here. Also, side note, so one of the reasons why I was debating on buying this model versus the Pit Boss Series 5 was the capacity. So one of the things I wanted to make sure was the racks were wide enough to take on like a full Packer brisket. And so I actually emailed Pit Boss through their service desk, and they actually responded pretty quickly. So I went ahead and decided to get it because the rack width is about 20, it's about 20 and 1/8 of an inch wide, and about 13 inches deep. So I felt like that was big enough to take on any kind of meat that I would want to smoke and grill. The instructions tell you to do this, but with any metal assembly using screws, you should always kind of tighten them down, but not all the way. Leave them a little bit loose, because once you combine all this stuff together, there may be a little bit of play. So don't tighten all the bolts down until you're completely done with the assembly. Okay, got all the base parts on there, so again, make sure you tighten all the bolts down. Make sure you get the support rail on the back, the power cord on the back leg, the grease trap rails, almost forgot that one, and then go ahead and tighten all the bolts and nuts and screws that you see. There's a good bit of them. Some of these are a little bit tricky to get to, like this one right here. But if you have a right angle screwdriver, Phillips head, that'd probably be ideal. All in all, it took me about 30 minutes to get the base together. So flip it over and then do the other side. Also, make sure you get all the pieces out of the smokestack. I noticed all these pieces were stuck in there. So the latch, the door handle, the little hopper hold or stopper in the back. So just make sure you get all that stuff out. Okay, so I made a mistake. So the door latch is C. You should be using the panhead C screws, and where I messed up, because I didn't have any at the end, I'm thinking they sent me the wrong stuff, but where I messed up was right here for the ash clean out. Those are actually D's and not C's, so make a note of that. Okay, took me about an hour to get everything together. The base, all the other pieces that go in. One thing that was a little bit seemingly tricky was the ash pullout. You kind of have to give it a good press in order to get that bolt at the bottom to line up. Totally not sure how the drip pan is supposed to work, but I guess I'll figure that out when I start using it. And so I'll start walking through the steps that the instructions give on priming the auger, and also on doing the burnout. So I'll show that in a minute. Okay, so the hopper priming procedure, you turn it on and listen for the auger and see if the fan is moving. So we'll give this a go. So I do hear the fan moving already. You can see the fan running. I don't know if I can hear the auger moving, so let's see if we can see it from the top. So the auger isn't moving, but maybe there's some other step I'm supposed to take. Let's see. I guess I could try the auger setting. So it says the igniter is going. The fan is on. It does not say that auger is moving. So let me check the instructions and see if it's supposed to be moving up this step. Okay, so the light it came on. I don't know if that was from me pushing it or it automatically came on. It is very, very slowly moving. Very slowly moving. But the auger is turning, so I assume that means things are functioning correctly. So I'm gonna go ahead and take all the stuff out and go through the burn off procedure. Well, first I gotta load the pellets, then I'll go through the burn off procedure. All right, so I'm going through the hopper priming procedure. It says to hold down the prime button to get the auger to move. It sounds like I hear some pellets dropping down in there, so the light's on, so I think we're running through here. Okay, I went through the hopper priming procedure and I could hear pellets falling down into there. I mean, it seems like the auger is moving. There were some sounds that I thought were maybe a little bit odd, but anyway, it seems like it's starting to run. I'm shutting it down so that I can go through the full burn-in procedure or the burn-off procedure. First, burn-off, and so I have an Inkbird, just regular temperature probe, and so I set one in there next to the meat probe that's connected to the machine, or that came with the machine, and then I put another one further up into the top. You can see it over there. So I just want to see what the fluctuations are during this burn off. The one that's for the machine itself is back there in the back corner, so I have one at the top level, which is up there, and then this one has the machine one that's there, and then the two that are checking the bottom temperature. So right now, so my bottom one is saying about 61, and then the probe inside of it says 63, 64, so it's closer to the back, so we'll see how this fluctuates. So I just started it. It's been running for about 30-40 seconds now. We'll see how long it takes to get up to 350 degrees. Seems like a good sign. So my Inkbird probe is at 61, and then the probe that's already that I set up next to the Inkbird one's right at 61 too. So but the cabinet is saying 64 down there, and my Inkbird that's also in the cabinet kind of further down low is also saying 61. So again, we'll see how this fluctuates. Okay, 5 minutes in on the first time to start this thing up, and you can see the smoke coming out, so that seems to me like a good sign. I did press the prime button for a little bit just to kind of feed it some more pellets, because I don't know, I felt like it needed some more. So it's really starting to smoke out good, so to me it looks good. So while it's going through this, I'm just kind of seeing, you know, that seems to be all the way tight. There's obviously some smoke coming out, so loosening it up, just seeing how this dampener kind of works. And so, I mean, there's obviously a lot of smoke in the cabinet, so I don't know if you can see that as well with the glare, but anyway, it's got a lot of smoke, so that's good. So at about 5 minutes, maybe 5.5 minutes in, the cabinet saying 68, the probe saying 67, and then my Inkbird is holding around 72, 73. So the one kind of at the top and the one at the bottom, so that's they're pretty close to each other. Okay, so I'm right at 30 minutes. It's interesting that it seems to have just kind of stalled out at 130 degrees Fahrenheit, and it just seems to be holding there. So it's still producing some smoke. I do hear the auger come on every now and then, and the igniter. So like I said, right now the auger just now come up. So might see what's going on with that, because that seems a little odd that at 30 minutes it's still only at 130 degrees F. So I think my problem might have been I plugged the probe into the meat probe outlet here, which is to control, and I noticed that the meat probe had a set temperature, and so maybe that was the reason why it wasn't heating up anymore. It was starting to, it reached that set point and then stopped, and so that's why it wouldn't go any higher. So The burn-in procedure is not going as planned, but I think I figured out what the issue is. So we'll see how that goes. And then next time I set it up, I'll see how long it takes to get to the set temperature of 350. Okay, that's what it was. Well, it'll be reversed. But yeah, so I did take that probe out, and that does seem to be what fixed that from was holding at 130. So this has been like 5 minutes and it already has jumped 15 degrees. So it's at 145. So important tip then, don't have that meat probe or the MPC meat probe in while you're trying to ramp it up. So it'll trigger it off. Okay, so it's 353 roughly in the cabinet. It's 365 at the top, 361 at the bottom, whereas that meat probe that came with the device, or with the smoker, is a good bit lower. So I don't know if that style is designed to actually be in meat, and so it doesn't give a good temperature reading if it's not. So it's the one that's on the bottom, kind of bigger probe, and then the Inkbird one is on the top. So kind of interesting that it is reading such a different temperature, but I'm also a little bit impressed that it is holding it kind of that close. It does seem to fluctuate a good bit. So like right now it's showing 374, 370 between my Inkbird ones, one at the top, one at the bottom, versus the cabinet, which is in the back part of the, so it's closer to over here, whereas the other probes are kind of in this middle region is where I set those. So it's getting on up there, so now I'm just going to let it sit here for, I set it to 400, so that's why it's continuing to go up. I'm going to let it do its burn off for about 30-40 minutes starting now, even though it'll get up to about 400. So seems to be working fine, so I'm impressed so far. Okay, so I finished the burnout procedure, and then I took everything out and then coated everything with canola oil. So I didn't do this prior to doing the burnout phase, because my thinking is the whole reason why you're doing that is to burn off any residual machining oils or any kind of debris that's left over. If you coat it with canola oil, you're locking all that stuff in. I don't know if that's right or not, but anyway, that was my thinking. So I'm gonna do it again just to kind of do the burn in or set up with the canola oil coated on the inside. And then also just kind of figure out how long it takes to this thing to get to 350 because of the issues I had with the probe. So we'll give it a go. So it's been about almost 20 minutes. It's up to almost 200 degrees, and so a couple times I did have issues where I used the app and tried to set the temperature through the app, and then it just crashed and shut off the pit walls. So anyway, maybe that's something to look out for, is when using that app. Sometimes it can cause, I don't know if there's some sort of software glitch or something, but it'll just shut the machine down and it'll go to the automatic shutdown procedure. All right, right at 22 minutes to get to 225 degrees in the probe that's in the very back of the container. So it doesn't seem like too long. Okay, we're at about 45 minutes and it's been fluctuating between 347 and 345. I'm going to call that good for 350, the set point that I gave it. So I could probably speed it up by hitting the prime button to feed in more with the auger, but I just wanted to kind of get a general idea how long it would take to get to 350.